Hey guys, what's up? It's Tony G here. Tonight I'm doing a video a little bit different than my usual as far as me doing reviews and going over products. Tonight I want to talk about a little bit more of philosophy of firearms, and more so I'm focusing on caliber selection. A lot of people have this opinion that smaller calibers such as 22, 9mm are not as effective as, say, a 40 or 45, which in some cases it is true. I mean, a 45 does have almost double, actually more than double, the mass of a 9mm. However, a 9mm does have more velocity than a 45. But overall, I mean, you have more power behind a 45, and you can't disagree with that. However, there was a YouTube video that I guess it made me really want to make this video, and it comes from a guy on YouTube. His name is Vinny S914, and don't get me wrong that this guy does make some really good videos. His current video right now about children and firearms is actually really good, and I agree with what he says in that. And but with this one video that he made, it was called "Just Say No to 9mm." I had some issues with it because the way that I look at it is some females may not be able to shoot a 40 Smith & Wesson, or they may not be able to handle a 45 ACP. They may only be able to use a 9mm, or in some cases they can only use a 22. Now, as far as the 22 is concerned, yes, it does not have the same amount of penetration as, say, a 9 or a 40 or 45. Well, yeah, as well as a 45. And but the thing is, though, too, if I give somebody a 40 or a 45, and say at 7 yards, they can't hit a 7 or 8 inch target, but they can hit, within, say, like a 3 inch group with the 22 at 7 yards, there's that accuracy that they have with that 22 could potentially save their life versus using a 40. Now, like I said, I understand that, some people really, they have the ability to use all those different types of calibers, and their accuracy may not really change. And for the people like that, of course, whatever, obviously the more bang for the buck, obviously, and, you want to be able to deal with the situation as few rounds as possible, not only for your own safety, also you want to be able to stop the person that, or in some cases even an animal coming at you, but also, the more rounds you put out, especially if you're in a populated area or a crowded area, you could end up hurting somebody else that you did not have intended as the target. Now, also, do not get me wrong, I am not, I'm only saying this for responsible firearm owners. I'm not saying that, a criminal should be listening to what I'm saying here, because I do not condone, obviously, any of that sort of action. And, a good firearms owner, their very last resort would be a firearm, and, would be using deadly force. At no point before then should you ever be using a firearm against a person. Now, like I said, the whole point of picking a caliber, you don't worry so much whether it's 9mm or 40 or whatever. You need to make sure that, your accuracy is good. You can hit critical areas and are confident in doing so. And you also have to be able to control that round. I personally can shoot 9 and 40 and 45. Personally, I prefer the 9 and the 45. 40, I find to not really be to my liking, and it does affect my accuracy. I haven't shot the round as much as I have those other ones, and I mean, maybe in time I could be as proficient, but I would not trust my life on a 40 if it's not a round that I'm used to. Now, the other thing that I want to bring up too is stopping power and knockdown. There is this belief that, you know, you shoot somebody with a 45, they're going to fall down because of the mass behind the bullet. That's not true. If anything, if the bullet has so much energy and mass, it's going to go through you. It's not going to knock you down. I used to say the leverage that the bullet would have to have in order to knock you down would be tremendous, and it just wouldn't happen. However, there are mental and physical effects that would lean towards a person falling over because of being shot. Perfect example would be, you know, if, say, the person was shot in the leg and it severed a nerve, then they would lose control on that leg and potentially fall over. Or, you know, depending on the person, if they got shot, if they were in complete shock when they got hit, they may, you know, fall to the ground in shock. But the body is very resilient, and you know, if you get shot, say, in an area where you're not hitting vital organs or nerves or veins that are major veins or arteries, and the bullet goes through, the person can continue to continue going, and you do have that the fight or flight type of adrenaline that pumps during that time. So your body may not even feel that pain from that shot at that time, and you will keep going. After the conflict, though, you will feel immense amounts of pain, but it's one of those things that it doesn't make sense for anyone to say a bullet will knock you down. It just does not happen, unless you're talking about really, really high-powered rounds, which are used in military, and I'm not really going to go into those, but there are rounds within that nature that could knock you down. But no civilian is going to be having access to that, let alone most criminals will not have access to that as well. Some other things that I wanted to bring up. I'm trying to figure out how to put this. The comfort level that you have in a round is basically what would help you survive, God forbid, a situation like that. If you have no confidence in what you're shooting, it just leaves room for you to trip up and for things not to go the way you need them to. And that is really the whole point of having a firearm for defense. If you're defending yourself with something you have no confidence in, you might as well be carrying a knife or a bat, because you'll end up being more effective with something like that than carrying a gun that you are not comfortable with. And like I said, the main reason I wanted to make this video was because my concern with people putting out information like that, and say you have a person that may have a handicap and they cannot shoot a higher caliber, and they go with a lower caliber and then see somebody's video like Vinny's, and then say to themselves, oh, well, I don't even know why I'm carrying this now. I can't defend myself. I need to have a 40 Smith & Wesson. That's not the case. You have to feel comfortable with what you shoot. You have to practice all the time, and you need to focus on critical areas. You can shoot 8 rounds into a person. If you do not hit a vital area, it will not take them out. However, if you hit them in a vital area, it may only take a bullet or two, regardless of the caliber. Now, the other thing I also want to bring up is that... I lost my train of thought here. Hold on a second. Oh, okay. the capacity as well. People bring up, 40 Smith & Wesson is the best round because you're getting the higher mass of the round itself, and you're also getting the velocity of a smaller round, and you're also getting the capacity in the magazine. Now, don't get me wrong, there is quite a difference between having a semi-automatic pistol and having, say, a revolver. I mean, obviously, a revolver with 6 rounds and a pistol that you have at least 12 rounds, it does help you. But it all goes back to, can you shoot accurately with those rounds? If you can accurately take someone out in 2 to 3 rounds, then a revolver's fine. If you have a gun with 12 rounds and you have to spray in order to hit your target, it's useless. But, that being said as well, if you can find a gun that shoots a caliber that you are comfortable with, whatever method may be to fire this caliber, and you can have the highest capacity, is the method you should go. There was, during the Argentine economic, they had an economic crisis, and obviously crime and looting and robbery went up. There was a story of a guy that had a revolver, and the thing with criminals is usually they attack in groups. It's usually not just one person, usually it's 2, 3, or whatever. He was being chased in Argentina, and, he fired off, I think, 3 or 4 shots, and they were chasing him with the car, but he only had 2 shots left, and by that point, luckily the guy did get away, but, he didn't really have any room for error because he only had 6 rounds. Now, on the other hand, there was a gentleman I had read about. Unfortunately, this gentleman did die, but he was attacked by 5 assailants, and he had a semi-automatic pistol, and I believe they said he had, I believe it was 15 rounds, and he killed 4 of the 5 people, and he severely injured the 5th one. And he died from the wounds that he had received from the confrontation. The 5th one didn't finish him off, as you would say. He was injured, whatever, and the guy died later from his wounds. But, in that sort of scenario, he took out 4 of the 5 people that attacked him, and he disabled the 5th one. The 5th one just didn't die. So, you have to consider that fact in defense, that you may be dealing with more than one person. You can't assume that, I'm only going to be attacked by one person. You have to be willing to prepare yourself for whatever type of situation you may have. And that was another thing I really wanted to get across. But going back to, and like I've said this at least 3 or 4 times in this video, the bottom line is, no matter whatever caliber you choose, or whatever form of defense you choose, make sure that you are accurate with what you're shooting, and make sure that you have the ability to hit critical areas, because this is your life or your family's life on the line, and feel comfortable with what you're shooting. Those are the most important things, and work on your muscle memory. You have to continually practice. And that, regardless of what caliber you use, will help you in your situation. Never let anyone push you into feeling that you have to have a specific type of round. You only have to work with what you feel comfortable with, and that will give you the best chance of survival. And that's mainly all I have for this video, and that's what I wanted to get across. Thanks, guys. I'm out.